My name is Lila, and I am 64 years old. People think the worst pain in life is losing someone to death. It is. The worst pain is watching someone you are still alive for slowly decide you are no longer important. That realization came to me on a night filled with white roses, violin music, and champagne glasses. My daughter's wedding night. The night I was asked to leave. Before everything broke, the morning began like something out of a dream. Golden sunlight slipped through the curtains of the bridal suite, painting everything in soft warmth. White dresses hung neatly along the wall, steaming gently. The room smelled of perfume, fresh flowers, and excitement. Bridesmaids laughed over misplaced earrings. Someone argued about lipstick shades. Music played quietly in the background. And I sat near the window, holding a small velvet box in my trembling hands. Inside it was a pearl necklace, simple, elegant, timeless. It had belonged to my mother. She gave it to me on my wedding day with tears in her eyes. "Pass it to your daughter," she whispered. I had waited 4 decades for that moment. My little girl. My daughter Emma was not always distant. Once, she was the child who refused to sleep unless I held her hand. The girl who drew crooked hearts on Mother's Day cards. The teenager who would sit at the kitchen counter, telling me about her dreams. After her father died 8 years ago, she hugged me so tightly at the funeral I thought my ribs would break. "I'll never leave you alone," she said. I believed her. Mothers always do. The house by the sea. The beach house was never meant to be valuable. It was meant to be peaceful. White wooden walls, slightly weathered by salt air. Blue shutters that my husband repainted every summer. A porch that creaked like an old song under our feet. We spent 20 years saving for that house. 20 years of saying, maybe next year, to vacations. 20 years of choosing responsibility over comfort. The day we finally bought it, my husband stood on the porch, laughing like a young man. "We earned this," he said. After he passed away, that house became the only place where grief didn't feel like drowning. The ocean carried some of the pain away. Emma loved that house as a child. Barefoot in the sand, hair wild in the wind, she used to shout, "This is our forever place." Forever is a dangerous word. The first crack. 2 months before the wedding, she mentioned the house. Casually. Too casually. "How often do you even go there? Isn't it expensive to maintain?" Then one afternoon at a bakery, between bites of vanilla cake, she said, "You should give us the beach house as our wedding gift." I laughed, because surely she was joking. But her eyes stayed serious. The conversation that changed everything. "Emma," I said gently, "that house is the last piece of your father I still feel close to." Her expression hardened. "You live alone. You don't need 2 places." "I don't need it," I whispered. "I need what it represents." Ryan, her fiancé, leaned forward with a polite but cold smile. "It would help us start our life comfortably." I nodded slowly. "I can help with money. I can support you both in many ways." Emma shook her head. "We don't want another place. We want that one." I took a breath that felt heavier than it should have. "I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I can't." Something shifted in her eyes. Not anger. Something worse. Calculation. Silence between us. After that day, our conversations became careful. Short. Polite. Empty. Every discussion about flowers or guest lists somehow returned to the same subject. The house. As if my love could be measured in square footage. I kept telling myself, "She's stressed. Weddings are overwhelming. She doesn't mean it." But deep down, a quiet fear had already taken root. The wedding. The venue was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above white roses, arranged like clouds across every table. Soft violin music floated through the hall. Guests whispered in admiration. When Emma walked down the aisle, She looked radiant. For one brief moment, I forgot everything. I saw only the little girl who once needed me to tie her shoes. My chest filled with pride so strong it hurt. The reception. Laughter. Clinking glasses. Camera flashes. Joy everywhere. Except near me. Emma approached with Ryan beside her. Her smile was tight. Controlled. "Mom," she said quietly, "have you reconsidered the house?" My heart sank. "Emma, not tonight." "Why not?" she pressed. "Everyone's here, it makes sense." I lowered my voice. "We'll talk later." Ryan crossed his arms. "We need certainty." Guests nearby began to notice the tension. The moment that shattered me. Emma's voice rose, just enough for others to hear. "You're being selfish." The word hit harder than any insult. "I gave you my whole life," I whispered. "It's just a property," she snapped. "No," I said, my voice shaking. "It's your father's memory." She looked at Ryan. Then back at me. And in front of everyone. "If you can't support our future," she said coldly, "maybe you shouldn't be here." Silence spread across the table like spilled wine. I felt something inside me crack, not loudly, but permanently. Leaving my own child's wedding. My hands trembled as I placed the velvet box, the pearl necklace, on the table. "I brought this for you," I said softly, "but gifts should be given with love, not pressure." No one spoke. I turned. Walked past smiling strangers who suddenly avoided my eyes. Past music that now sounded distant. Past the life I thought I still had. And I walked out. Alone. The quiet after the storm. In the parking lot, the night air felt colder than it should have. I sat in my car and finally cried. Not loudly. Just the quiet kind of crying that comes from somewhere too deep for sound. That night, I understood something painful. Sometimes you don't lose your child. You lose the version of them who once loved you without conditions. Months later. Time passed slowly. No calls. No messages. Silence filled my days. But the beach house, the place everyone thought was just property, became the place that kept me whole. Morning coffee facing the ocean. Waves whispering against the shore. Memories that didn't demand anything from me. The knock. 3 months later, there was a knock on my door. Emma stood there. No makeup. No pride. Just regret. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I said nothing. "I thought security meant owning something," she said through tears. "But losing you felt worse than losing any house." Her voice broke. Ryan kept pushing, I kept agreeing, and somewhere I forgot you're my mother, not my opportunity. What healing really looks like. Forgiveness didn't happen instantly. Real life doesn't work that way. It came slowly. Phone calls. Short visits. Careful conversations. Trust is like glass. Once cracked, it can be repaired. But the lines never fully disappear. The lesson life taught me. I am Lila. I am 64 years old. And here is what life finally taught me. Love is not proven by how much you sacrifice. It is proven by how much respect remains when you refuse. Children grow up. They build lives. They make mistakes. But parents must remember something too. Keeping one small piece of your world for yourself is not selfish. Sometimes, it is the only way to survive. Moral: never measure a parent's love by what they are willing to give away. Because homes can be replaced. But once respect is lost, rebuilding a family becomes the hardest work of all.